The 2024 NASCAR Cup Series has been a roller coaster of drama both on and off the track. But the biggest story of the year isn't about checkered flags or photo finishes. It's about a high-stakes legal battle that could reshape the very foundation of stock car racing in America. 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports have launched an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR, challenging the sport's governing body in a way we've never seen before. Let's explore the latest developments in this legal showdown. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have just fired back at NASCAR's attempt to dismiss their lawsuit, and they're not pulling any punches. In a scathing response, the teams called NASCAR's motion to dismiss a fantasy, accusing the organization of mischaracterizing their legal claims and the relevant market. The team stated, "Defendants' NASCAR motion to dismiss is a fantasy. It is based on their contested version of the facts instead of the complaint's allegations. It is also based on a mischaracterization of plaintiffs' 2311 Front Row legal claims, a mischaracterization of the relevant input market, and a mischaracterization of governing law. It is draped in rhetoric about this being a contractual dispute when defendants know that the complaint is alleging facts plausibly showing defendants' unlawful maintenance of monopoly." This strong language sets the tone for the team's argument. They're not just disagreeing with NASCAR, they're accusing them of deliberately misrepresenting the situation to the court. It's a bold strategy that shows just how serious 2311 and Front Row are about pursuing this case. The heart of the team's argument revolves around NASCAR's alleged monopolistic control over stock car racing. They claim that NASCAR, through its Cup Series, exercises monopsony power over the market for premier stock car racing teams. According to the teams, NASCAR holds a 100% market share in this space, effectively shutting out any potential competition. But what exactly are 2311 and Front Row fighting for? The teams believe that NASCAR's control over the market has led to below-market value terms in the charter agreements. These charters, which dictate a team's participation in the Cup Series, are crucial for teams to compete at the highest level of the sport. The teams argue that the current terms of these agreements are unfair and prevent them from earning a fair profit. Jeffrey Kessler, the attorney representing 2311 and Front Row, didn't mince words when describing the situation. He stated, "The below-competitive market terms of the 2025 charter agreements, like the 2016 agreements, have deprived racing teams of a fair chance to earn a profit, but with no viable choice, most teams acquiesce to defendants' take-it-or-leave-it demand, under duress. Plaintiffs refused to sign the 2025 charter agreement because it contained a release that defendants contend would waive plaintiffs' antitrust rights." This statement paints a picture of teams being forced into unfavorable agreements simply because they have no other options. It's a key part of the team's argument that NASCAR's monopoly power is harming the sport and its participants. The teams have laid out several specific allegations of anti-competitive behavior by NASCAR. They claim that NASCAR has enforced exclusivity provisions on independent racetracks, prohibiting them from hosting competing stock car racing events. This, they argue, effectively locks out any potential rival series from accessing suitable venues. Furthermore, the teams allege that NASCAR bars chartered teams from competing in non-NASCAR racing events, further limiting their options and potential revenue streams. They describe these non-compete covenants as equivalent to a group boycott of competitors, depriving them of what they need to compete. Another point of contention is the next-gen car introduced by NASCAR in recent years. The teams claim that NASCAR forces competitors to buy specific parts for these cars from vendors that were awarded development rights by NASCAR. This, they argue, is another way NASCAR maintains control over the teams and limits their ability to compete independently.
Tech inspection with these new next-gen cars and the penalties. What's your opinion on this?
The bad thing is I have an opinion about it. I have a very strong opinion about it. You know, the Hendrick saga of getting penalized and losing points and crew chief suspended, and then they win the appeal, and then the next week 2 more cars go back and a windshield screw gets cut off, and they lose all these points again for a windshield screw that got cut off. This is the part that I really hate about the sport right now, and this is what frustrates me about NASCAR right now is, yeah, I do have an opinion. I have a very strong opinion about how they're doing things. But if I say something, then it's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me points. It's going to hurt my drivers. It's going to hurt my organization. And so as much as I have an opinion, I'm scared to voice it because NASCAR has shown now you can't have an opinion. You can have an opinion, but keep your mouth shut.
The teams have also pointed to NASCAR's acquisition of the RK Racing Series and the International Speedway Corporation as additional moves to consolidate power and eliminate potential competition. These acquisitions, they argue, have further strengthened NASCAR's grip on the stock car racing market. NASCAR, for its part, has tried to dismiss these claims. They argue that the charter values have increased over time, which they say proves that the team's complaints about below-market value are unfounded. They've also accused the teams of using the lawsuit as a way to strong-arm better terms, rather than addressing genuine anti-competitive behavior. However, the teams aren't backing down. They've issued a revised preliminary injunction to retain their charters for 2025, while the court case is ongoing. Now let's turn to one of the most intriguing aspects of this case, the Stewart-Haas Racing charter transfers. This situation has added another layer of complexity to the already contentious lawsuit. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports had plans to purchase charters from Stewart-Haas Racing. These charters are crucial for the team's plans to expand their operations for the 2025 season. However, NASCAR has now refused to approve these transfers, leading to further conflict. Jerry Freese, the general manager of Front Row Motorsports, has made some explosive claims regarding these charter transfers. In an affidavit, Freese stated that NASCAR president Steve Phelps had verbally assured Front Row Motorsports that their purchase of a Stewart-Haas charter had been approved back in September. Freese wrote, "On September 11th, 2024, I had a telephone conversation with NASCAR president Steve Phelps. During that conversation, Phelps volunteered that Front Row was already approved for the SHR charter transfer and only needed to submit the customary transfer documents." To back up this claim, Freese submitted evidence in the form of an email thread with Steve Phelps. In this correspondence, Freese says he asked Phelps to confirm the transfer fee for the charters. According to Freese, Phelps responded, "You are correct, Jerry. The transfer amount would be $50,000 assuming they sell before the end of the year." Based on this information, Front Row Motorsports believed their purchase of a Stewart-Haas charter would be approved. However, the situation took a dramatic turn on December 5th. Freese writes, "NASCAR informed us on December 5th that it objected to the transfer and would not approve it in contrast to the previous oral approval for the transfer confirmed by Phelps before we filed the lawsuit. NASCAR made it clear that the reason it was now changing course and objecting to the transfer is because NASCAR is insisting that we drop the lawsuit and antitrust claims against it as a condition of being approved. This sudden reversal, Freese argues, is causing immediate and irreparable harm to Front Row Motorsports. He states NASCAR's refusal to approve the transfer is causing additional irreparable harm to Front Row. In reliance on Phelps's assurances of approval on September 11th through 12th, we have made significant investments in our operations as part of our plans to operate a third chartered car for the 2025 Cup Series. We have also made several commitments with sponsors in preparation for running the third chartered car. But it's not just Front Row Motorsports feeling the heat. Joe Custer, representing Stewart-Haas Racing, has also weighed in on the situation. In his own affidavit, Custer wrote, "NASCAR officials conveyed to me on more than one occasion that once the buyers submitted their transfer approval forms and signed their respective joiner agreements, NASCAR would promptly provide the necessary approvals to transfer the charter agreements to the buyers. If the sales transactions are not consummated in 2024, Stewart-Haas Racing will suffer irreparable harm." This statement from Custer is significant because it shows that the charter transfer issue isn't just affecting the buying teams, but the selling team as well. Stewart-Haas Racing, while not part of the lawsuit, appears to be caught in the middle of this legal battle. These latest developments have shifted the focus of the team's legal strategy. In their previous attempt to secure a preliminary injunction, the teams were told that their evidence was too speculative. They had argued that they might lose sponsors or drivers, but the court found this insufficient to prove immediate, irreparable harm. Now, with these new allegations about the charter transfers, the teams are presenting what they believe is concrete evidence of immediate harm. They're arguing that NASCAR's reversal on the charter transfers is directly impacting their ability to prepare for the 2025 season, potentially costing them millions of dollars in investments and sponsorship deals. This shift in strategy reflects the high stakes and time-sensitive nature of the case. With the 2025 season rapidly approaching, every day of uncertainty could have significant consequences for the team's competitive and financial prospects. The legal arguments in this case are complex and multifaceted. The teams are not only challenging NASCAR's current practices, but also its historical actions. They argue that NASCAR has been maintaining its monopoly power through various means for years. One interesting aspect of the case is the comparison drawn between NASCAR and other sports leagues. The team's attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, has cited the landmark NCA v. Alston case, which he successfully argued before the U.S. Supreme Court. Kessler is drawing parallels between NASCAR's treatment of race teams and the NCAA's treatment of college athletes, arguing that both are monopolists that pay sub-competitive prices to the relevant sellers of talent. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on upcoming content.